Bringing real talk with real professionals directly to you each week. It's Bringing It Home with John Wilkinson on Vinyl Draft Radio. Now, live from the Associated Credit Union of Texas studio in Houston, here's your host, John Wilkinson, the real estate agent invested in you.
Hey, good day, sunshines. Welcome back. It's Thursday. It's Friday's weekend. It's a way to start out your weekend before the weekend. And if you did know, which a lot of you may not have, it is the day of the Foo Fighters concert. And I say that because I plan on going. It'll be the first concert I've been to in embarrassingly 30 years. And we're not talking like the school kids concerts, right? We're not talking about those because those don't really count. You can't go Elton John to your kids' school concerts if they play in band or something, and then consider that a concert. So I will tell you that I have a lot of angst about this, and I figure I'll get this little rant out early. I have angst about going to this concert after a real concert after 30 years. I don't know what to wear. I feel like, I'm certainly not the one that's, my last concert, like I said, was Elton John, Billy Joel. Concerts before that involved mosh pits, lots of leather, boots, ripped jeans. So I am completely lost in this realm. I don't know. I have no idea. I think I have to go shopping right now after the show.
I probably wouldn't wear what you're wearing.
I wouldn't. I know that already. So I'm like, what's appropriate for a 49-year-old to wear it? And now, the thing is the Foo Fighters, they're that age, and older.
Sure.
Pat Smear, older. Dave Grohl probably a little bit. He is just a little bit older. But I'm not in the band, so I am not
You're
wearing.
Not as cool, right?
I also know that the faux pas is you don't wear that band's T-shirts there, and that's what I was told because that was the first thing. I was like, oh, I could just buy a Foo Fighter T-shirt, and the nose came out real quick. No.
Really
no.
interesting. That would be new to me.
I think you buy that there. Now, again, if it's like Grateful Dead, maybe, but the Foo Fighters. Let's face it, there's going to be people my age, men and women my age, but there's probably going to be a majority of them that are younger than me. Certainly not trying to be that. I just want to go enjoy the music. So, and see the band because I know they're phenomenal and they put a lot of energy and they play until they're done. They don't, go up 2 hours, got to go. So anyway, so that's my angst. So if you have any suggestions, I am open to them. Go to Facebook, bring up the Vinyl Draft Radio Facebook page. You can go to my personal Facebook page. Leave me some comments on maybe what I should be wearing at this concert, and I'm almost afraid to open that door, which I just did.
God,
so
something easy that breathes, you'll be comfortable.
Easy, breathable. I have no idea what that stuff is. I'm
just cotton T-shirts and jeans, man.
And now,
not what you got on.
Yeah, but not what I know. It
Opposite
can't
of
be
what you
a T-shirt. It can't be the current tour T-shirt for the Foo Fighters, and it can't be what I'm wearing now. Outside the jeans. Jeans are okay, right?
Jeans are good.
Okay.
You can wear jeans.
All right. Just want to make sure. So now we've heard from two different people, so I'm going to introduce who those two people are. And it's kind of weird because it's a melding of industries, which, we try to do in terms of having experts on our panel of experts. But I'm really excited because this is the first time these two are meeting, and I think it's kind of cool because one has been a longtime friend of mine, and one has been at least about a year now. Friendship, and it's great to when you bring people together from two different industries, but basically two people that you like. Who knows? Maybe they'll like each other more than they like me. So it could happen. So today we welcome back Ms. B. Flores. Welcome back, B.
Thank you.
B is with Better Homes and Gardens, Greene. Now she's formerly branch manager. And this is kind of an interesting little story, and we're going to get into that. But she is now, and I don't know the official title, so I'm just going to say she is the training manager with Better Homes and Gardens, Greene, and also an active sales agent. And a lot of us non-real estate people, I am real estate, but a lot of those that are not, you can be very fortunate to work with Ms. B. Flores. I just know her as a person, and I think you're very fortunate to have her. So then we also have back Mr. Jason Means, Perfect Policy Insurance.
Good morning.
Good morning. Look at you. Always bright and shiny. You know what I love the most? On top of the angst of the concert is my angst at 8:37 and none of my experts are here. That's what I love the most. And then being told that we have no internet right after that. So I'm like, okay, great. This is the way it goes. So, but now it all got resolved. Experts are here.
Here we are.
Internet's up, so Facebook's seeing us, so it's all good. So let's dive into a little bit of background on Ms. B because it's been updated. So is that officially a title now? Is that like training manager, or is this something like...
Well, that's not really the title. I don't know that I have a title anymore.
You see what I mean? I can make that up. We just made that title.
We just made that title. I am still involved with training for the Friendswood office, but I'm back to selling. So that was a decision that I made in January of this year. I loved working as a branch manager, and I loved training agents. And so one of the reasons that I made the decision, or the main reason that I made the decision, is because I missed working with people. Mm-hmm. Not that agents aren't people.
We no longer qualify as people. That's what happened.
You know what
here.
I mean? I mean, as far as selling real estate, I miss that. I miss getting to be a part of that transaction with the buyer or the seller, going to the closing table, showing homes, all of that stuff. I miss that interaction with the clients. So I decided that I wanted to go back into production, and I didn't want to stop training or coaching because I'm very good at that and I really enjoy it. Yeah. And so luckily, Mark and Marilyn, who are the owners of Better Homes and Gardens, Greene, offered me a position to stay and to do that. And so I'm very grateful for that because I get to do everything I like now.
I know. Look at it. Fortunate. She takes the best of both worlds.
Both worlds.
And I think it's important to note that a lot of people, real estate, and this probably goes to many other industries, but I can just talk from real estate in particular. When I see people change within a brokerage, a lot of times it's about blaming the brokerage or trying to put the blame somewhere else and then leaving, rather than, saying what you did, being you said, hey, I enjoy this, and this aspect I'm not really enjoying anymore, and I thrive here, and I want to do some, I want to do production, get back to my roots on that. You went and you talked to, I mean, I was just impressed. The whole chain of command was involved in this to say, we don't want to lose you. We know you do this well, so we are willing to do this for you. And that says a lot about a brokerage, and it says a lot about you. So I'm glad that you obviously you had other options, but I'm glad that you really thought about it and put it through, because those kind of moves, they may not seem like a lot to other real estate agents when they make those moves, but quite honestly, I don't know, maybe I'm a sucker for the old fashioned. You stick with who you're with unless you get burned or unless you feel there's just a better opportunity. Here, you didn't limit that. You said, if they give me this opportunity, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, well, just a little bit of background. The reason is, with Better Homes and Gardens, Greene, their focus is to make sure that the client experience is top notch. And so in order to do that, they want their agents to have a top notch experience. So their managers are non-competing managers. When you become a manager with Better Homes and Gardens, Greene, you're no longer able to go out and sell, because your job is to be there for the clients and for the agents and to run the office. So that was why I couldn't sell. And so when I decided I wanted to get back into that, it was a hard decision. It took me a couple months because I loved the company. I loved what I did. And when I went to them and let them know, they were frankly shocked. I don't think they were expecting me to want to make that move, right. But they were very accommodating. And they did say, we don't want to lose you. You're a great asset. And so let's see what else we can do to, keep you. And so I was like, great. So it worked out because, like you said, now I get to do the best of both worlds. So.
Yeah. And that's envious. I'll tell you, I left the restaurant business. I knew my time was coming a few years before it came, because it was just wearing on you, and you end up being locked into things you don't enjoy doing anymore, and very little bit of what you do enjoy. So when you get into that, you feel your pinch. Your first thing is like, I just need to escape it. I just want to say, it just does say a lot about the structure and the mentality of Better Homes and Gardens, Greene. And again, not just fluffing it out there. I think there's probably quite a few brokerages out there that may have offered that possibility. But I don't think there's any big enough to be able to really offer that possibility
Right.
where they have that kind of structure and system in place, because you kind of have, it's got to be a pretty big company to offer that availability.
Yeah.
So, and the big plus with this, with having Jason on today, again, is introducing you to, which we did before the show. And you already started talking about things that we might want to talk about because you have questions. As real estate agents, we do. That's one of the reasons I love having an insurance expert like Jason on, because you can pretty much get an unbiased answer with that. So, but I want to kind of follow up in our last couple minutes of the first segment, just to follow up with Jason on how things are going. First, I want to ask, how many people are back in your neighborhood now?
We don't have a standing count of what's going on,
Right.
but walking through the neighborhood, you can talk to a few people here and there. And March was a target month for a lot of people, and so quite a few. I mean, if I had to guess, if we were 80% out of houses, we're probably 50 to 60% out of houses still.
Wow.
But another 20% are back, which is nice.
It's always a plus. They're
What's nice for
staying
me is
going.
my street is pretty much 100% now. So, what I see feels totally normal.
Right, and
So,
kids are feeling normalcy at
Yeah,
this point.
exactly,
And,
yeah.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Rather than me sit here and talk about you, much like B talked about herself, I want you to kind of retell our audience and kind of fill in B exactly what Perfect Policy does. And don't take, again, it has a lot to do with the name of the company. So,
Sure.
So this way we can start that business introduction.
Right, yeah. Well, Perfect Policy is, we're an independent insurance agency, but the term Perfect Policy came from having more options than any other agency. So my feeling was when I started Perfect Policy was if I can offer every company to my customers, then I give them the most options, which gives them the best chance to have the best value in a policy. So that's what we do. We write every company that is available to us outside of captive carriers. We cannot write a State Farm or an Allstate who are captive carriers, but we
That
write.
sounds
Yeah.
weird, by the way. But I know it's the term.
You
Yeah,
say captive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just what the term that they use for those, but they can sell their product only. So
Right.
when you call Perfect Policy, we might have 35 to 40 different options for one type of policy. They'll have one.
So you can
So-
compare prices for them.
Yeah, we're, in the very short sense, we're an insurance shopper.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we have lots of great companies. All the companies that we write are well rated, take care of their customers. They're not going to be companies in a lot of cases that you're going to recognize because they're regional carriers that don't spend $1 billion on advertising. They count on insurance agents to market their product, and then when come claim time, they take care of the claims and generally do a very good job of it. That was one of the things that I had always worried about when I first started insurance, because I started insurance and immediately bought an insurance agency within 6 months. So, I don't know a lot about these companies. Who's going to buy this insurance and what's going to happen when things happen? And I've been very pleasantly surprised at how well things go when that happens. So, very, very proud of what we offer and how they react when things do happen.
Well, when we come back, we're certainly going to dig into that a little bit more because I really think it is about building relationships. But you'd be surprised. I mean, you had those client experiences where they ask you questions about insurance. Now, specifics are always hard when you're not actually the policy, provider. But the general terms are always there. And we're going to kind of ask some of those things of Jason. And again, some of these things are not going to be set in stone for anybody because it's all dependent on your policy. But you can get some normalcy here. And like I said, another reason we can call Perfect Policy. And I'll be honest with you, I call them the concierge of insurance. It's up to 100 underwriters. I mean, it just depends on the type of policy that you check. But if you're, recommending things, why would you recommend someone that's going to shop another 100? So we might ask that question in particular. All right, folks, talk to you shortly. Hey, welcome back, folks. It's the Bringing It Home radio show. I'm your host, John Wilkinson. Yes, I wear a vest, and yes, I'm invested in you. And I will tell you that actual little slogan or saying whatever came from Miss B. Flores. She
there
is the
we
one who
go.
said, let's do it that way. So I've stuck with it, and I just wanted to thank you publicly for that. So.
Thank you.
So again, we have Ms. B. Flores, Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. She is a real estate agent and a training
Trainer.
Trainer. She's a trainer. She's a trainer. And then we have Mr. Jason Means, owner of Perfect Policy Insurance. Welcome back, my friend.
Yes, sir.
So when we left, we kind of just did some brief introductions, and really, I feel like I kind of am introducing you to, and I think it's beneficial because at the end of the day, real estate agents always work with a insurance person. Now, again, we don't always recommend somebody because we don't know. We generally have more questions than anything else, and through our business, we get to meet people like Jason Means and others out there, and maybe we can use them as a resource. You know what I thought was interesting, Jason? Last time you were on, we kind of talked, and this may have been actually in my office, and you're like, what are some things we can do to meet some of your agents, like to let them know how I can be a resource for them? And I say, I'm thinking that would be a good question. How can someone like, Perfect Policy be a resource for you, like, so they're going to be on your list, or whether it's a short list, long list of people or insurance people that your clients can call. What is something that you think, he could do or offer, provide that would help that?
Well, actually what he does provide, him shopping around rates for the client to get them the best possible rate and the best possible policy, I think is really helpful, because when we give a list to our clients, it's it kind of relates to us, right? So if he were to do a really crappy job, well, then they're going to look at me.
Right.
So so that's exactly, what we're looking for, someone that is going to do a great job for our clients, look for the best rate, look for the best policy to get them covered, and also just answer those questions, because we have a lot of questions about it, and I know our clients do, and just to be a resource for us, I think is very beneficial.
Well, one of the things I know when we had talked about, Jason, I had said, maybe on your page, a lot of these industries have, if, like, let's say a home warranty company, let's just throw that out there. The home warranty company actually has, you're buying a house, and then they say real estate agent. And so the real estate agent can click on there and it'll say, hey, we offer this for your clients and we'll give them this and that and this and that. So that may be something that could help. I don't know if that costs money or anything like that on your website. Yeah, just to at least notify them. And, it's good to have the personal relationship, but also it's something that if people are looking at. The other thing that I do, and this is for us as agents, when you get to know somebody and you know a little bit and you see what they're able to offer and provide you, you got to test them out. It's hard to recommend people unless you kind of know. And I've given business to Jason now over this past year because I've gotten to know him as a person, and I've gotten to meet his staff now at this point. We had Danielle on the last show, and as a matter of fact, I think she got a call yesterday, and one of my clients, yeah. Excellent. Not that she would tell you, but
well, I was actually out yesterday afternoon, so I was that very well could have been.
I'm just saying that's how it worked, and you know how it worked is when I put together my next steps. This is what I do. I say, I talk about inspections, and I give them a couple choices of inspectors to call, but I also do an insurance. And now what I've done is on that list, not that I'm saying you'll have the best rates or you'll find the best rates. You're going to find the best rates you can for them. But I give them 3 options. You're being one of them. And this is just me being straightforward. And what I tell them at the end, the one thing I know for sure about Perfect Policy is that you're probably going to get shopped to up to 100 different companies on that. So really, out of these 3 people, you're getting 102. You're shopping 102. It's a no-brainer. Why would you not call them? And if they can't give you find you the better than anybody else, then that's fine. But give everybody on this list an opportunity. Exactly. It's just shopping, Right. So that's how I've been doing it, and so I think that's what ended up happening. You know what? That leads to questions, like you said, B. Right? You said, then we still get questions. I had this client call me yesterday, and actually, as I was driving, and ask questions. But you had someone ask you a question, and what was funny is one of the first thing when I first introduced you before we came on the air, you started asking the question. And I was like, wait. I said, let's actually ask that question here because 1, it can educate our listeners, and then 2, it'll also educate us and help establish that rapport a little bit of why we should trust Perfect Policy on that. So you want to kind of rephrase your question and get it to them, and we'll answer it like it's brand new.
Okay. So I have just been made aware that some of the areas, the flood maps have changed. And it's my understanding that when the flood maps change, that the new buyer that's going to purchase that home can be grandfathered in on the seller's policy for a certain period of time. And then their rates will increase incrementally throughout the years until the maximum. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. I could actually probably talk for quite a while. I took
You've
a
got
course.
6 minutes.
Well, grandfathering is a very complicated and extensive program from the NFIP, which is a National Flood Insurance Program, that helps people keep their insurance rates down. You know, and flood insurance is mostly funded by FEMA,
Right.
So it's a government program. But they also are not trying to lose money every year
Right.
continuously. So when they see that they're losing money year over year because of things that happen the same way over and over again, they start to adjust their rates just like any insurance company will. So they determine the rates for the whole country. Well, one of the ways to help people that already had a house or are buying a house that already existed before flood insurance maps went into effect, or the location, the zones change and things like that, they allow people to grandfather their homes in. Now, the rules for grandfathering can be complicated because it depends on was the home built before a firm date went into place, and the firm date is a flood rate map. It's when did they start actually saying we now have flood zones in this area, and those happen mostly in the 70s. So if your home was built in the 60s, your home was built before flood maps even went into effect, and then you're called a pre-firm home. In that case, you could be grandfathered in and have a policy that's not even based on your zone at all. You just have a pre-firm rate. But if you get an elevation certificate and your home happens to be built with really favorable numbers, your rate might still be less expensive than it would have been under the pre-firm rate maps. Because like I said, this can go on for a long time. I take a 4-hour course to learn all this stuff, and I still don't know it. What I ultimately do when I get a grandfather question is I call my underwriter and I say, listen, here's the situation. The home was built in such and such. The zone changed here. We have this elevation certificate. All these things, and then they say, okay, well, here, let's break it down for you so we know. So
Here's our criteria.
we're not going to just go on what we think then we know the answer is, because we want to make sure we absolutely definitively know the answer. But in the case of like a pre-firm situation, pre-firm rates are kind of expensive, but a lot of homes that are built pre-firm are terrible when it comes to flooding hazard. They're likely to flood, so you can still afford them. But if the home was built and say the numbers are really good, you might get a instead of a $1,500 rate, you might get a $500 rate because your home happens to be built higher and still is better off post-firm than pre-firm. It doesn't always work that way. More recently, I think the more the situation that you're saying is there are homes that were built and they're calling them newly remapped homes. So your home was in an X and now it's in an A. Last year it changed. So what happens there? Well, in that case, you can, if you buy a policy within the first year of that map change, you get that preferred rate. And then each year it's going to go up 18%, I think, is the amount that they select. And I think there are some variations there, but it's about 18% a year until you get to where your rate should be, which, by the way, where your rate should be has to be determined. So you're going to have to get an elevation certificate to see.
Yeah, that's what I was told, is that they can't even determine the rate until you have an elevation certificate.
Right. So and again, don't be immediately terrified that your home was remapped, because if your home happens to be built fairly high, your rate really may not even change hardly at all. I mean, people think, oh my God, I'm in a flood zone, my rate's going to be $1 million. Well, I mean, we have homes that are in flood zones that are almost the same price as homes in preferred zones. I mean, $500. If your home is built high, it's still not likely to flood, just as if it was in a preferred flood zone. So there are lots of rules: pre-firm, post-firm. If the home was substantially improved, meaning if the home was built in 1960 and last year they tore it all out and gutted it and rebuilt it and spent more than 50% of the value on the house to build it. Well, now it's not a 1960 house anymore. It's a 2017 house. And now you're conforming to the rules for a 2017 house, not a 1960 house. So there's a whole bunch of rules that go into this. And again, it takes a lot to cover all of it. But that's, for that.
Here's where the
situation.
value comes in, is if you have insurance people that you trust, like Perfect Policy, you can call and say, can you get me
Here's the situation.
the situation? Can you get me the flood rate and all that? Honestly, that's what I do.
Right.
I for every property I even have a little question on for my buyers, I'll get the flood rate. And that's also where I tell them, send it to me, but you know what? Put together something with your name on it and stuff, and this way they know it's coming from you, and when it's time for them to buy insurance, maybe it'll work for you. But nonetheless, it's got to be reliable in that. So, that's what I like. The people I recommend, like Perfect Policy, they'll give you the information, and it's not a quid pro quo. It's like in the hopes that the work that I'm doing, they'll see, and I have a good rate, and I can get them a good rate, and
Right.
that's it. So that's why they're willing to offer that to you. And I did find that very interesting in the fact that I think there could be some confusion between the term grandfather, and then the post flood map change rates, because people confuse that for grandfather when you think about it.
Right. And there's differences there, and it's again complicated enough that I don't feel comfortable with. I know every rule
Right.
down pat, inside and out. So that's why when we get something like that, we make sure we contact the carrier that's all that they do all day long, every day. And they can say,
They
okay,
work with it.
when was it built? Has it been substantially improved? What zone was it in? What zone it is now? What elevation certificate do you have? Okay, well, here's the situation. We can do this.
All
And
right.
We need this to do it.
Always getting great information. And when we come back, we're going to get a little bit more. Hey, welcome back, folks. And you guessed it. It's the Bring It Home radio show. You're still here. I appreciate you. Just as my two lovely guests are here. And yes, Jason, you are lovely.
Oh, thank you. It must be my hair.
That's it. It's the hairline. it's the complete hairline there. So if you're just joining us, we have been talking with B. Flores, real estate agent and trainer with Better Homes and Gardens Greene, particularly the Friendswood office, and Mr. Jason Means, owner of Perfect Policy, an all-around good guy. As far as I can tell, I'm not gonna test. I'm not gonna sign any swear statements. But from what I can tell, he's a good guy. All right, folks, I want you to take a quick listen to this.
Life's never perfect, but as realtors, we know living it in the perfect place can make a big difference. Imagine hiding from your screeching children in that spacious walk-in closet, watching the neighbor's dog poop on the freshly sodded grass you negotiated during closing, dropping your cell phone in the toilet of the spa-like 5-piece bathroom again. So get the perfect place to house all of life's imperfections. Get Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Yes, we are. Do you know there are people out there that sell real estate that are not realtors?
Blows my mind.
It's crazy. So, B, let me ask you this.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but that
You might even ask this question now.
Well, that raises a question. I thought that legally I guess the question is, what's the difference between a realtor and a licensed real estate
Agent.
person?
Agent.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Go
I'd
ahead,
like to know
B.
this.
Hit it.
I want to.
So, in order to practice real estate brokerage, you must have a real estate license that is given to you by the Texas Real Estate Commission. Now, realtors, that is not mandatory. You have to be a member of the National Association of Realtors in order to be called a realtor. Realtors are held to the Code of Ethics for NAR, which is the National Association, which means they're held to a higher standard than just the minimal standard that TREC holds us
Interesting.
to.
Okay, I
So,
never knew that.
There you go. And that's why when people say, I'm a realtor or realtor, some people, they add that extra syllable in there. They may not be. And so it's actually a registered trademark name, a registered name title.
I always just associate a real estate agent with realtor.
Yep.
So it's not the same thing.
Nope.
Look at
It's
there.
not.
Look at
Chalk
that.
it up.
Aren't you glad you came today?
What? It's 9:35 and I've already learned something.
There we go. He's going to walk out with one thing today, and that actually not every real estate agent is a realtor.
Correct.
So the other thing I want to bring up, which I kind of alluded to, because one, I always thought that was very important, because there's different levels of trust, right? There's, now that you know that there's somebody who sells real estate and there's somebody who's a realtor, which in essence does the same thing, but now has a new set of ethics and, association kind of background stuff going on. You also need to know that it also applies to something like the MLS. Now, what that means, that's the multiple listing service. You don't have to be a member of the multiple listing service to be a real estate agent as well. What that does is basically it gives you as a real estate agent access to listings. It allows you to enter properties basically that are on, say, on super systems with electronic key boxes, all sorts of ports of that. There are surprisingly people who just are not, because they don't want to pay the money to be in association, and they generally can't access properties unless there's those old-timey digital unsecure, or not even digital, little combo locks or stuff, and that's generally it. And those are usually the agents that we get calls from saying, I want to show your property to my client. Can you come let us in? And my answer is absolutely not. Mm-hmm. I want to sell that house, and I want you. Fine, you can bring them to the house. But now you're asking me to do the simplest part of your job to get into a house because you don't want to pay to be part of an association to get in. Call that selfish or whatever it wants, but quite at the end of the day, it's not that I don't want to sell the house. It's not that I want your client. And no, you're going to get paid for helping your client. Help them. If you can't even open a door, it's kind of silly to me. That's my feeling.
I think it just goes to the level of service you're providing your clients, like you said, but also that commitment to the industry or to your business. And we've talked about this over and over, that there's so many part-time agents out there. I have a 9-to-5 job, Monday through Friday, but I can show you houses at night or on the weekends when I'm off. So don't call me during the day because I'm not available. That kind of situation. And so I think that just like in your business, if you're going to be great at what you do, you need to be committed to what you do. And I think it's the same for us and the level of service that we can provide our clients.
And you can always tell, just as working with a co-op agent, and whether they have the listing or they have the buyer, you can always tell what type of agent you're working with and where they're working from simply by that availability and the answers you get. I mean, there's a lot of things, and it's probably for another show that's more geared towards real estate, probably the happy hour. But some of those services that we do want to provide is that we go out and make these connections to people like yourself, and we learn about your business so we can confidently recommend and use you as a referral resource for us. So that's just all part of that. There's no backroom handshakes going on here, folks. It's all up front. We want to provide great things for you. We're a full-time real estate agent. He's a full-time owner. Until you open up a bakery or something, then you're like, I got to spend half my time. But the good news is that's okay, because you do have good people in place, and that's the way it works.
And they make the difference. Allows me to focus on bigger picture things.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game when you own a business, is be able to set up the company, be successful at it, and train people to do that so you can focus on bigger and better, not just for you, but for that company.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
That's one of the rules in building a business, is you can't do every part of the business. Otherwise, you are limiting the amount of growth that you can do.
Right. And I like to put the analogy, and maybe because I was in the Navy and maybe because it's just easy for me to comprehend, the analogy is this. If you are a business owner, and like real estate agents, we own our own business. We may not be the broker, but we work with brokers, but we are our own business. When you first start a business, you're the captain of your ship. You're probably steering it. You're working on the engine. You're doing all that. Now, as you start making more and more trips, you can start making more money. You build a bigger boat. You start adding some crew. Eventually, the goal is, as the captain of the ship, is to plot the course. And you have trust in your crew now to get you there.
I like it.
That's the way I view it. So that's how I view business, and that'll be the show's end. No, just kidding. We've got plenty more to talk about. I do have a question, an insurance question, and maybe it's more of an insight that you can share with us than anything a direct answer. So my client calls me, and she is shopping insurance, and she called me. She goes, I just wanted to, I called one place. And by the way, none of these were that I recommended to start with.
Sure.
I called one place, and they said my policy is going to be $575. I was like, in Galveston County. Wow. I said, well, I think, she goes, and I called another place, and they told me it was going to be $2,200. I said, okay, here's what I think may be happening. I didn't see any deck pages, and that's an insurance term I learned, deck page. Big and fancy now.
What is that?
Declaration page.
Oh,
That's
okay.
your summary page of
Gotcha.
your coverage. See, now you know to put the little words there. So anyway, so I said, what's probably happening is this one company I do know, since they're a national company and they're not really local here, they're not giving you the full picture because they don't even know they have to give it to you yet. So I guarantee you that's not including a
windstorm, right?
The windstorm policy. I said, I guarantee that. So I said, now if you have to go through text, this is going to be a little bit more than if you had a combined policy. I said, but I said, so the 2,200 sounds a little more accurate to me. I'm just telling you that now. And I happen to know with this particular company that they're being truthful in what they're telling you, but they don't know what they don't know until like 2 days before closing, and then they realize you can't be covered.
Oops. Right.
Yeah. So I would just really check. And then I asked them, who'd you check? And that's when I found out. I said, well, I recommend at least then going, giving Perfect Policy a call. And because they'll shop 100 for you if you don't want to shop anymore. Well, it turns out she ended up doing that. So my question is that how come a place like, and again, only a couple minutes, sorry, limited you on that. I feel like I'm censoring you. 2 minutes to tell me why a place like USAA, let's just throw that great company in general, great service in banking and stuff. How can they come out with a quote like that, and how do they not know what else they're going to need?
Well, I can't fully answer that because I think they should. And by the way, USAA is a good company. I don't have a problem with USAA. But, we have a unique situation along the Gulf Coast. Whether you're in Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, wherever, it's a unique situation. Anywhere else in the entire country, and USAA is a nationwide company, there is one policy. You get a home insurance policy, and it covers all your major perils. Windstorm isn't separate. So if you call I don't know where they are, but let's say they're in Ohio and say, hey, I've got a home in Galveston County, Texas, and here's my address. Give me a quote. They may not even realize especially if it's a new agent. Oh, down there, our policy is going to automatically exclude windstorm. And they just do a quote. And by the way, $575 sounds about right. If you live in Ohio, that's a normal rate that you might get there, but because it's not Gulf Coast. So they just might not even know what's going on because there are 50 states and only 4 or 5 of them have this situation right.
And most of those are those coastal states, Florida. And
so, it just if you're not going local with local knowledge, it just makes it you're running the risk of them not understanding what they really need. Right,
and I'm like you, and again, I'm not saying it's USA in particular. It could have been anybody too that does that. I just think it's kind of weird that when you, I think if I give you an address, you should be able to, or the underwriter should be able to say, this is how much the policy is going to be based on these, criteria that we said, and they would know that, you need windstorm, or we can include it.
I've seen that with USAA a couple of times, which is a little bit surprising because I would think that they would be more on top of that because they're
maybe just company. Different levels of service. The entry level inquiry, and then it's a general. All right. Well, I just want to, and again, it's not to knock because maybe they could have had a better rate anyway, but they needed to know that, and I just knew enough to tell my client that something's wrong with that rate.
Right.
So,
There's just no way.
That brings up a really good point to where they need to go local. I think that's so important, and we see this now in the mortgage industry too, where they're going online and they're shopping these mortgage companies online, and they're just trying to get the best rate, but they're not getting that service. And like you said, if they're out somewhere in Ohio, they don't know what it is in Texas.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
they might
important
close
to
a
be
loan.
local.
They might close a loan with insurance that doesn't have windstorm by accident, and then what do you do?
And that's a big thing. When we come back, we're going to kind of go into that go local thing. So stay tuned, folks. Always a sad time here on the show when I have to say goodbye in about 10-15 minutes, and especially when I say goodbye to my guests. But until then, let me not filibuster any longer. Let's talk about going local. Bea made that statement as we were heading into commercials last time, and she said, go local. And I want to clarify one thing on that, and of course, you guys jump in on that too. when we say go local, it doesn't mean don't use a national company, because you got to remember most national companies are really only one place in the U.S. and they have franchises everywhere else. So they may be corporate stores too, but I'm just saying let's say like State Farm or Farmers. They it's a franchise. They're paying to have that name, and they follow the guidelines of them. General, am I correct with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the same with mortgage companies. You can, go with national companies. That's fine. They get a reach, and it's, a little more universal. But locally, work with the local offices, because they're the ones that know your area. That's the key to everything. So, yeah, there's no problem. Like B, you said, you have those Quicken loans, let's say, or Rocket Mortgage, I think, Jason, you mentioned. Those sound all cool and easy, and generally they are. But I'll be honest with you. Almost every mortgage person out there has a website that you can go to and apply for a loan and almost get the same. Now, I don't know if I trust a computer to tell me when I enter my own information, because all that stuff has to be checked at some point physically during this process. So it's good to have the local people, the local offices help you with that, because they know how to do it. That's all I'm saying about that. So when you say go local means work with people that work locally. They may be in a national company, but that's fine. I mean, what's been your experience? I mean, have you had experience, B, with things falling out, both insurance or lending that,
Mostly on the lending side, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's, we do have a lending expert, and that's one of the things she'll tell you is it's better to be able to talk to somebody. Yeah, you can go to the website and you fill that out. That's the start.
The customer service, too. I mean, if you have someone here as opposed to someone who knows where that you're only talking to by phone and you have to reach them, I mean, sometimes it can be a little difficult. And in our situation with the loans, it's like we need to be able to be on top of it and have someone to communicate with, and have the client be able to call them directly and not have to go through an automated system and, talk to different people every time.
Right. It's one thing to get in there to see if you'll qualify.
Yeah,
for
that's
instance.
different.
And again, and there's things out there for insurance as well, where you just plug in your information, your house information and stuff, and it gives you instant quote. But isn't that generally just a filler of time before they connect you to somebody?
Well, yeah, that one of the more common things you find on the internet is clickbait for insurance quotes. And really, what those are lead companies. They're just tricking you into, and they say, "Oh, fill out this information, we'll give you a quote." And you get to the end, and you hit submit, wait for your quote. It's like, okay, we'll have somebody be in touch with you. And then what they do is they take that and they sell it to 15 insurance agents, and then they all start calling you saying, "Hey, I saw you wanted a quote," and it's like, we don't really use those. I mean, that's one of the ways some insurance agents get their leads is by buying them from lead companies. And if you're not the first person to get to them, and
right,
your odds go down, because so many people have contacted them, they just get frustrated, and it's like, so that's what happens when you click a lot of times on those clickbait banners and things like that. So yeah.
But I'm wondering, is there like we had mentioned Rocket Mortgage or Quicken, is there any insurance site where you do that? I mean, where they literally say, "Oh, you can apply online," and that's it?
Probably like Progressive, right? Like those kind of companies.
I don't know.
Home insurance is a little bit tricky to do that with.
That's what I was saying. It seems to me there's a lot more
because you have to determine
involved.
the valuation of your property, which is tricky. I mean,
you can. It's kind of like Zillow. You can just enter what you want to change the value.
And you really need somebody to know what they're doing to help you with that. Are those out there? There probably are. But
they just couldn't be accurate.
Yeah, I would I would be worried if people started doing it, and that gives me a little feeling of security in my job. It's, people have no idea how to value their home. A lot of them just go to my CAD says my home's worth $249,000. Well, yeah, but you have a 4,000 square foot house. You cannot build that for $249,000. I mean, so we have to educate people on that, and that's one of those things.
And that's something you just can't do on a computer.
Yeah, and another person might look at their appraisal and say, "Well, my house is appraised at $500,000." It's like, well, but you live on a $300,000 value land, and we're not going to insure the land. So then they would overpay for insurance because they wouldn't understand. Well, land's not going to burn down; it's not going to wash
That's
away.
interesting.
So
that's interesting.
That that changes things too. So there's some expertise that's absolutely necessary when it comes to home insurance. With auto insurance, you pick your liability rates. Do you want comp and collision? Do you want what deductibles do you want? Hit go. Pretty easy. There's no valuations. There's not really super complicated decisions to make. But home is a little bit different.
Now, and just so you know, they do more than home insurance.
Good.
So they do commercial, they do auto, and they do life.
Yes.
Life. So and they don't do bundle insurance, but you do multiple policy.
Right, which does provide a discount. And when it comes to bundle, a lot of people say, "Oh, can you bundle my insurance and give me a discount?" It's like, well, we may not be able to get you a bundle discount, but there are 27 other discounts that are available to you potentially too, depending on which companies we choose. So again, it just comes down to which company likes your situation the most, which is why we shop it through so many to find the one that's going to like you.
To find the perfect
Yeah,
policy.
the perfect policy.
She's getting
there
it.
You go.
She's getting it. She's getting it. See?
got it.
Exactly.
This is she's going to walk away going, I guarantee. So make sure you exchange information on this. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to wrap up a little bit, and I just want to say that it's been a pleasure having you both on. I know, and now you're going out of town
Next week, I got my big golf tournament. Yay!
Look at you. And me, I'm
Once a
just-
year, I do this thing on. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Lake Charles. So looking forward to it.
Right, there you go. All right, folks. Well, I just wanted to make sure we knew where he was going, why we had to have him on this week. Not that I mind having you on here. And of course, we'll certainly see him again, but we're certainly going to see B again. I have to talk to her after the show and kind of figure out some kind of schedule that doesn't conflict with her training. That's what we're calling it there. So, all right, folks, I just want to say that with B, tell me about you. You're part of a team, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you call it. It's the Luxe
Living Group.
Lux Living. Who else is on the team?
Melissa Rekoff.
And she was on the show last Real Estate Happy Hour. So I will say that that's always a pleasure to have her on. And I didn't get her on this time, but I love having you. And folks, if you want to find out more about B, you can look for her online. What's your website?
www.bflores.com.
Okay, and that's
Easy
not
to remember.
Yeah, it's not a Flores with a Z. It's with an
it's
S.
with an S.
Oh, and what's the visit?
BEA.
BEA. There you go.
Flores.com.
We should just go BEE. Because that's
No, it's BEA.
So does anybody in your family call you Aunt B?
No.
Oh, okay, just checking.
If
Wow.
they did, they would no longer
I was
be
going
around.
to say, I just got shot a look when I asked that one. Jason, easy enough. I could say it, but I'll let you say it. What's your website?
It's simply perfectpolicy.com.
It's a perfect website name, perfect company name. It all ties in. It's in purple because he has to add another P on
Another
that.
P in there.
And folks, and for me, you can go to my website at www.jwgetsitsold.com. Next week, well, let me tell you this week, and look for these posts, we're going to give you the free cooler insulated picnic bag from Mr. David Biddle, who coincidentally works for Edward Jones. And he's got an office over in NASA, and we will be giving that away this week, so look for our posts. And I do have to say goodbye because Dorsey and her guests are once again looking in there. We're just going to get a camera out there this time. We're going to do role reversal. Next week, folks, 9 a.m. Thursdays, Bring It Home radio show.